Hey, hey, y'all.
Hello,
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
hello.
Awesome.
We got the crew back.
Yay!
We got the crew back. All right. Y'all, welcome to Wealthy and Worthy Wednesdays. We are, listen, pumped to be back with y'all today. So, I'm Dr. Tiana. If you're new here, we got Jeannie with us, our resident therapist. We got Dr. J with us, our resident medical expert, and we got Talana with us, our resident relationship expert. Okay, she coming to y'all, teaching y'all about how to transform your space and your relationship. Okay, so listen, today we got a good one for today, y'all, because listen. Whew, this one's gonna touch a lot of us, okay? Because even when I was preparing, I thought, this was a sensitive subject. So, okay,
Mhm.
ladies. So, how many of you have found yourself in the habit of saying, once things slow down, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. Show of hands. Are you good?
Yep.
We got two hands. All right. So
Guilty.
so listen, many of you, right, have probably been saying this for years, probably, right? And we understand that it sounds very responsible, right? It sounds like you're being strategic, but what we want to offer up for you today is the possibility that that sentence, that thought is actually a pattern, right? Because oftentimes, right, when we think about the realities of life, right, like everything may look great. It may look like growth. It may look like more responsibility, visibility, more access, more success, right? But internally, you know that it may feel like constraint, right? Like you're expanding, but not totally free, right? And so that's the tension that we want to sit in and address today, right? The paradox between external success but internal restriction, right? So we are going to be touching on, what does it mean when you're actually saying once things slow down? Like, are you actually waiting or are you postponing something that actually needs to change now? Right. And we want to invite you, right, as we dig into this conversation to be thinking about how long, right, have I actually been saying this thing about when, when, right? When things slow down, when I have more time, when I go on vacation, when I have a break, right? Because that is going to help be your starting place for where we actually need to start doing it a little bit different or practicing doing it a little bit different. So we're going to jump into it today, ladies, and just talk about, right, this season that can sometimes be very sneaky and also can seem to never end for many of us as high achieving women, right? Because again, it can become a pattern that keeps us stuck. And so we want to talk to you all today about, how do we think about these things and what do we do about it when it no longer serves you, right? When it becomes disruptive to the life that you say that you want, right? So let's just jump right on into it, okay? Let's talk about the illusion of this season will pass. Okay. The illusion of it's just gonna go away soon and I can just endure it, right? And let's start with you, Jeannie, because I want to know and I want the community to understand what is happening psychologically when a woman keeps saying this is just a season, right? I just need to push through. How does that belief shape what she tolerates and normalizes over time?
Oh my goodness, that's such a loaded question. I love
Whoa.
it. I'm in. Um, you know, women who are in this constant, persistent pattern of I will do this when, creating that this will happen, or I'll believe this, or I'll show up this way when are in this psychological state of mistrust oftentimes. And sometimes even in a state of shame in the context of I've told myself that this is who I am, or I told myself that this is what I value, or I told myself or and other people that this is how I'm going to behave in my life. And then I'm consistently not meeting it, right? There's something to making a promise to yourself, right? Saying, when my circumstances or my resources or whatever else become plentiful, become abundant, become ideal, then I'm going to move. Then I'm going to, feel free to move, or then I'm going to shift in the ways that I said I did, and then not meeting it. I mean, if you think about a consistent letdown, right, a loop of letting oneself down, what becomes of that? Distrust in self. What becomes of that? Questioning yourself. Why am I like this? Why can't I do better? Why can't I be better? When we think about people who are also in the cycle of, I mean, because what you're describing in some ways is procrastination as well, right? It's like, I'm going to do tomorrow what I could likely accomplish today. And I'm going to do that for the sake of a good cause. It's not even that it's not. You're saying I'm the type of woman who's looking to sort of endure a season, and I'll endure and I'll buckle down. And I'm not sure what I'm doing in that context. Maybe you can give a little bit more to our viewers, but I'm doing this for the sake of like maybe potentially being even sacrificial in some ways. I don't know. It has its reasons.
Yeah.
But again, what I'm creating in myself and my relationship with myself is a distrust of me. So I endure those seasons, or I wait till when, and then I don't show up the way that I said I was going to. And it is a difficult thing, because when you mistrust yourself, right, and when you feel shame in your actions, it often isn't the motivator that you need to change for many people. It's not the motivator, or the change doesn't come from the correct place, and then you go right back into the same loop, right? Because we're looking to build relationships with self that include feeling like I am who I say I am, like I do what I say I did, and in women who are consistently pushing themselves aside, sacrificing their ultimate goals for the moment, we see a lot of mistrust. We see a lot of shame.
Wow. Woo, I listen. I knew it was a heavy question, but I wasn't ready for that response. Oh man, but that is so like sneaky, like I feel like it's such a like sneaky thing that can, even though we're not stuck, it can make us feel like we're stuck, because it's like you're in your head about it and you're just, spiraling. So I do appreciate you sharing that is what happens. So now Dr. J, as Jeannie kind of framed it around the physiological responses, right? And how that tolerating this thing, right, that you're waiting for, how it becomes kind of normalized over time, like from a physiological standpoint, right? What happens in the body when a woman is constantly operating in this like prolonged, like, I just got to get through this season mode? Like, how does the body start to interpret that as baseline, and what are the consequences of that? You're muted.
Yes. From, just from a biological perspective, sometimes we have to ascertain the root cause, right? What is actually going on? Because, especially in perimenopause, and especially in late perimenopause and menopause, estrogen loss from that time, and progesterone loss can affect both your mood and your motivation. Right. And so, especially if you have a track record of, being very motivated and doing things when you say you're going to do them, and you notice that, okay, I can't just seem to just like go. And I feel like I'm just like stuck here. I can't seem to just like pinpoint what I need to do. or you're from an emotional regulation standpoint, like your emotions are dysregulated, right? And so sometimes it could be an influence from just hormonally what's going on. So it's important to also consider that that could be playing a factor. And then also, there can just be some cognitive dissonance, right? You saying that you want to do one thing, but for some reason, your actions are not in accordance with what you say that you want. And when that happens, that can cause just internal anxiety, right? You are it can cause palpitations, it can feel like just things are not clear because you're not doing what you say that you actually believe you want to do. And that can create a lot of just mental confusion about what you truly want. And so I think first we have to understand, okay, are there any underlying things that are going on that can be at play? And if not, what is it that you truly want? And do your actions are your actions in alignment with that? So it's just looking at the different factors that can take place why a woman is not, moving in what she says that she wants.
Okay.
I definitely want to jump in there when you're talking, because we're talking about a psychological perspective, right? When we're talking about cognitive dissonance, and it's important to just make that whole so our viewers know that's that tension that exists, right? When my beliefs, when my values, when what I say that I am and what my intentions are don't align per se with what I'm actually doing. So
Okay.
it might be something to the effect of, I'm a responsible person, right? I see myself as a responsible person. And I told myself that I'm going to do something that would demonstrate responsibility, right? But I don't do it. That's cognitive dissonance. Just so sometimes we use big terms and we want to make sure our viewers understand
Everybody
the
understands.
psychological. But I want to ask a question about the physiological, because that's what you were speaking to, right?
Yeah.
You were talking about hormonal levels, progesterone, estrogen, etc. What about just the I don't want to say the normal woman, but like a general normality in womanhood, right? Is that we go through like a cyclical perspective. We have a menstrual, like
Right.
luteal phase, follicular phase, ovulation phase. Are there differences in hormones there physiologically where we see what you were
Yeah.
talking about? Is that, can I
Yes.
take
Yes.
it back to that? Yeah.
Yes, and absolutely, for sure, right? Because during your follicular phase, you have your estrogen. That's when it really increases. Your luteal phase, right? That is after you have now ovulated, and the corpus luteum, which is the remnant of the follicle, that is what produces progesterone. And so then you have an increase of progesterone there. And so by the end of your cycle, your hormone levels have come down, and then you start to have a period, and then it starts increasing again. And so that's how your menstrual cycle occurs. And there's perimenopause, but there's also menopause, and your estradiol and progesterone are functioning differently. So during perimenopause, and the thing with perimenopause, there's no like symptoms that tells you you're exactly in perimenopause, because I mean, as we are all so different, right? But usually the general thing that women will say will be, I just don't feel like myself, right? And it's also because estrogen receptors, they live all over the body. But in perimenopause, right, what's happening is it's like you're pressing stop and go on a break, right? So there's fluctuations, right? The ovary is secreting high levels of estrogen, then low levels of estrogen, then high levels of progesterone, then low levels of progesterone, right? Like during the phases, there's specific increases of when estrogen and progesterone, specifically estradiol, specifically when the estradiol and progesterone will increase. But during perimenopause, there are fluctuations during those phases, right? It may be like a little bit of estrogen during the follicular phase, but sometimes there's really high levels during the follicular phase, right? And so there's fluctuations in estradiol and progesterone, right? And so that's why you can have like mood irritability and lack of stress resilience, right? Because your hormones are fluctuating, they're going up and down. Versus menopause, there's a gradual decline of both of those hormones. So the ovary is producing less hormones in general. So there's a gradual decline instead of that up and down fluctuation that you see during perimenopause, right? And so that's the difference there. And so especially, during perimenopause, you'll start to, feel that with those fluctuations. You may notice that you're emotionally dysregulated. Like, why can't I just get my emotions together? Like, I'm happy, then I'm sad, then I'm crying, right? It's the combination of, those fluctuations, specifically progesterone, because progesterone is known as a mood stabilizer. And so you will see those fluctuations really during perimenopause, and then really by menopause, you notice that there is a difference in your body. There's something different about you. And, we really have to look at the whole body, right? Because obviously the hormones can play an aspect. Some of us, Jeannie, as you know, may have underlying anxiety and depression. And so if you already have underlying anxiety, depression, and we know that estrogen helps to support certain neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, it could, it can really push you off kilter because you already have baseline, probably some dysregulation in these neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine. And then you throw on these hormonal shifts that happen during perimenopause and menopause, and that could just throw you all off. Okay. And so
interconnected.
That's why it's important to understand like what your baseline is. Like, this is me when I'm like emotionally regulated, right? This is me when, my cup is full. Like, this is how my mind interacts with my body, interacts with my spirit. Like, that is your baseline level of functioning, so that when something's off, you could be like, something is not right. I know my body. Something is not right.
I'm over here like this because I'm experiencing everything that she's saying. So I'm over here. Y'all see me over here like, That's because I am in the thick of it.
And that's why it's so important to connect with your body, right? Because and to be connected to your body, so when something's not right. Okay, it's time to get some help because something is off.
Love that. Okay, I love that. Ooh, geez. You listen, you make me feel like we need to have a whole conversation about this, okay? Because it sounds like the perimenopause is whooping some tail around here, okay? We got
Am I the first woman of our group to have to go through this? I think so.
We're still having children right now, so
we're learning. They're gonna be learning through me.
Well,
and my experiences.
And I want to say this, like, also, so you can have symptoms like that in perimenopause, but for me, how it showed up with me, it showed up in like my body changes, like the body shifts that I started experiencing, right? So I started noticing, I started getting increased fat around my abdomen. I had gained 18 pounds and I was always active. And so I was like, something's not right. Something's not right. And then I had lost weight, and then it was for the first time I ever saw my LDL cholesterol be high. And so not only does it have changes in mood and sleep, but then you can see the cardiometabolic manifestation in your labs, right? You can see changes in your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your triglycerides. Perimenopause and menopause is a cardiometabolic turning point. Okay, so that means that there is, with perimenopause and menopause, because and just briefly, what happens is that when we get loss of these hormones, right, estrogen specifically, your body will try to compensate because your fat also produces estrogen. Okay, so your bodies recognize, okay, there's estrogen loss. Let me put on some fat here The
Okay.
fat produces estrogen. It's just compensating, right? The
Mhm.
body's always trying to put itself in
Really?
balance.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
it's going to put on fat, and the fat that usually it creates is around the organs. This fat is inflammatory, and then it can lead to changes in your blood pressure, changes in
Yes.
cholesterol. It can lead to
Yes.
diabetes. And so it's important to know your family history, to know if there's cardiovascular disease in your family, and then get your risk reassessed, especially during this time. Okay, I'm done.
Speaking today, girl. Okay, so that's really, I mean, no, I think we are going to do another live about this, because I do think that just the pure education about this
Yes.
is like
Yes.
truly top tier. And also like puts it into perspective of like kind of like what I hear even with like cancer, like it's like my body betrayed me, you know, and it's like, no, your body is trying to communicate something to you, you know,
And
and
help
like,
you out.
yeah, and this is like you said, Dr. J, this is a turning point.
It
And
is.
so what support do I need to make sure that I can navigate this turning point without crashing out, right? Like how do we do that well? So we're definitely going to continue that conversation for sure in a different episode, because it's worth its own conversation for sure. So okay. Thank you so much for that. So Tiana, okay, now as from what you see, where you said, right?
Mhm.
Like when women are constantly like just pushing through, oh, this season will pass, instead of actually questioning the structure around their lives or their relationships, like how does that show up in the women that you support?
So seasons just don't pass. We are developing within the seasons, and sometimes we're developing like bad habits and things that we probably shouldn't be doing, or that's working against us. And so for us, the environment often rewards us for overfunctioning. Right. So it's those labels they put on us. Oh, she's strong, and oh my God, you're a powerhouse, and all of these things, right? And all these terminologies. And we feed off of that. So people become comfortable benefiting from our exhaustion.
Jesus.
Right. And so like workplaces, relationships, even family dynamics can unintentionally rely on you never slowing down. And like I said, it's a lot of times I'm not going to say everybody's is unintentional, but many times it's unintentional, because you're just teaching them that you got it. You could do everything, right? And so they're leaning on that. So when she starts feeling overwhelmed, the response usually isn't maybe this structure needs to change. Is usually you're strong, you got this, just keep pushing, you can overcome, you're a warrior and all these things. And as an interior designer, I often call myself like a design therapist. Because it should be a thing for real. And I say that because
just be careful, please, with the word.
Oh, I know.
As we know,
I'm not a
the world
therapist,
is
you guys,
already in shambles over
Conversation.
So I want to be
right.
I said
sometimes I want to call myself a design therapist. Not that I am a design therapist. I don't even think a design therapist is a thing. But as an interior designer, I see this, and it's mostly in high achieving women. I'm talking about women that make millions of dollars, right? Okay. Their houses are usually the most chaotic.
Shut up.
No joke. No joke. No. Clothes everywhere, no decor, no spaces for rest. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm scratching my head on it. What?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
so disappointed.
It's a shock. It was a shocker to me, initially when I started my business and I started going into people's homes. It was a shock to me because you think, oh, they make so much money. They probably got housekeepers and all these different things. Right. But housekeepers aren't necessarily there every day. And so what they clean up, you mess up because your life is chaotic. There is no intentional about the personal side of your life. Like you're successful on the business side, but your personal life is in shambles. It's imbalanced. There's no support. You don't have room to breathe. So you tend to adapt to functioning in discomfort. and disarray, right? So papers all over the place, dirty clothes lumped in the corner. Like when I tell you,
Wow.
high achieving people, they focus on the business side mostly, and we don't take the time to really, I guess, hunker down on what is most important. And if you ask people who are later in life, many of them like on their deathbeds, the last thing they're saying is, I wish I made more money. Right? So at some point, women have to stop asking, how do I survive this better? And start asking themselves, why am I living inside something that requires survival all the freaking time?
We'll pass the offering, okay? Because it is time to end the sermon.
Yes. I mean, and just think about it. When you think the high achieving people in general, right? And we're talking specifically to women, but this goes for men too.
Yeah.
They are so driven that they pay a major cost, and a lot of the time the cost is relationship. It's time spent. It's all the things that matter to the people you love most and that are closest to you. Most of the time, like I've talked to elders, that didn't have much time, left. And the main thing they said is they wish they had more time with their kids, or they wish they had spent more time, or they wish they were more intentional on like building relationships, because truly, you guys, that's what truly matters. So the question is, are you just building a business, or are you building a life?
Come on. Now listen. This is a beautiful segue, okay, y'all? Because this is what we talking about at Wealthy and Worthy.
Yes.
Okay. When we gather this August, okay, these are the things we are unpacking, because we want y'all to know that wealth is holistic. It includes only the career, the business. It includes your mental health, your physical health, your relational health, right? We are addressing all of those things because we know that those are the pillars that create a beautiful and flourishing life. And we want that for y'all. Y'all deserve it. Y'all are worthy of it. And so we really are just so excited to be able to open up the space and have those conversations. So if you have not already, grab your tickets. There's still 20% off right now for the early bird. So you have a little bit of time to grab those early bird tickets. But we really, really want y'all to really take that to heart. All right. So I love that, Tiana. Thank you for making that point. Okay. So let me see where we're going to go now. Okay. So let's do this. So now that we done dropped the bombs on the problems, okay, let's wrap it up by being solution focused. Okay, so when we think about something, right, that we're like, okay, this is like, I'm recognizing now that, the structure of my life, or the way that my life is functioning, or the way that I've established my business is no longer working for me. Right? When that point happens and that awareness happens, whether that's now or whether you're watching it back on replay and you like have this aha moment, right? Instead of, we'll go back to you, Tiana, on this too. So what does it actually look like then to start redesigning the structure, instead of trying to like will yourself or rally to show up stronger, better, like you said, like the superhero in the chaos? Where would you tell them to begin, like to actually restructure and rethink about what it looks like?
Okay, so for me personally, this is me personally, if we're asking my experience and what has helped me, right?
Yeah.
You have to believe in something bigger than yourself. For me, that's God, right? So when I go to and when I say God, I mean Christ Jesus. just for clarity, right? So when I go into my quiet space, there's a sense of peace I have with having a relationship with God. That's first and foremost. Second, I would say stop trying to handle things on your own and go to people who are skilled in the area that you're lacking. So if you're lacking emotional, mental stability, get a therapist, get someone that can help you dissect those things and get you back in alignment, right? Go to your trusted friend group. if you need that support where you just need to cry, or you need an outing to get your mind off things, or, get that, what you say, serotonin or dopamine up.
Yeah.
Right. Help the internal body system, work better. Right. And then lean into the people closest to you. If you're married, lean into your husband, lean into your children. A lot of times they need you, but you need them too. And it's not just you pouring into them. When you connect with them, you get a pouring into as well. And so those are the top three for me. Is God, is mental health professionals, and it is my family and those closest to me and my friends.
I love
Period.
that.
That's
I love
it.
that. So you got kind of an arsenal of layered support. Like you got reinforcements at multiple levels.
You have to have it, because you're going to need something different with every situation. You're going to need something different in every season. Some seasons it's not a therapist because you have the tools and you know how to apply them. It may just be support from your loved ones, right? And sometimes it's not support from your loved ones because they done got on your last nerve. And you need some prayer, or you need your therapist to help you dissect it and analyze some things, and so you have to build that. I call it my healing circle. And everything I mentioned is a part of my healing circle. I lean on my healing circle. If you can't slow down enough and take the time to develop that for yourself, I don't know how you're going to be truly, and when I say truly happy, I don't mean just surface happy where you're posting things on social media and, oh, you look so happy and you're so successful. No, I'm talking about deep down internal happiness.
Yeah.
You have to stop and slow down and create that for yourself, because it's not just going to happen.
Love that. Come on. And look, we got beautiful Serenity. Hey, Serenity girl. She says, I'm only 26 and these are the rooms I aspire to be in, to learn, grow, and be taught.
Come on and join us.
We love you, girl. Thank you for joining us today.
We're so glad you're here.
Letting us know you're here. We see you, girl. And then, okay, let's see. We got somebody else really quick. Somebody said, great question. It's really about reconditioning, identifying the systems we are running on, and defining the outcomes that we want, so we can find a conditioning system that will help us to achieve them. You are right, LinkedIn user. We can't see your name, so I can't shout you out, but you are absolutely right about that, right? It's reconditioning. It's like a shift in identity, right? Like being able to get very clear about what you want, and then figuring out what tools, resources, strategy you need to get there, because there is a strategy for whatever goal you have, right? And there are people who have been there that can show you the way, right? So love that so much. Okay, so on sticking to the theme of like solutions, right? Dr. J, we're gonna pass it back to you, and then we're gonna wrap it up with Jeannie as we think about kind of that personal mental health piece, right? So for Dr. J, right, from a health perspective, right, why doesn't being more disciplined solve the problem that we're talking about of like to endure the chronic stress of it all, right? Like what actually would need to change biologically, physiologically, when someone is living in a structure that is really destroying them?
Yeah, so with discipline, we are a lot in our heads, right? We are rationalizing every solution, thinking about, okay, sometimes we are thinking about what has worked in the past. Okay, this has worked in the past, so let me try to do it again. And then we try to do it again, but we are still running in circles, right? And so we become very cerebral based. And sometimes we have to learn how to live in our bodies and be able to sense what our bodies is telling us. And something that I share with my patients is I always ask them, okay, how did that make you feel? Right? Is really understanding, and not just understanding, but identifying our emotions, right? Understanding what our emotions are in certain circumstances, but also identifying what do we want our emotions to be, right? And so do we want to have joy, right? Do we want to be elated? Do we want to feel strong? Do we want to feel invigorated, right? And so think about those feelings, identify what those feelings, and the reason why I say to identify those feelings, because usually these feelings are, coming about by some thought, right? And because if that's how feelings will typically come about. You're usually thinking something, and then it shows up in your body, and that feeling has a specific sensation in your body, right? And so identify the feeling that you want to feel, and that will help determine, okay, what do you need to think in order to create that feeling? And then also, back to Talana says, who do you need to help you feel this way? Right. And so if you want to feel strong, if you want to feel, okay, well, when I'm, 80 years old, I want to be able to, run with my grandkids. Okay, well, maybe we need to get a personal trainer. If you want to, feel nourished, that when you eat foods that you feel really, really good, maybe you need to get a nutritionist. If you want to have clarity, and be able to be decisive when you make certain decisions, then getting with a therapist. And so it goes back to getting out of our heads. And I understand for high achieving women, like being in our heads and thinking our way through has gotten us to where we want to be. Okay. I understand. And sometimes we rely so heavily on, this is the way I do things because it works. And then when it doesn't work, and not only when it doesn't work, when we apply it to every single situation in our life, it has us it has us doubting ourselves or even questioning ourselves, because we are so used to putting in A, you're going to get B results. But sometimes we have to learn, okay, there can be other ways to do things, and the body keeps score. The body certainly keeps score. So learning to get inside of our bodies, learning to identify our feelings, and learning to identify the thoughts that create those feelings, and then providing in the right support system to help us create those feelings, those genuine feelings that we want to feel, not those superficial feelings like, like I'm happy. No, like you truly are, because you have structured your life in a way that you have people supporting you to create this feeling in your life. That is how you move discipline out the side and truly live in a body, in a feeling that you want in your own life.
I love that. That's beautiful. Creating that head-heart connection, right?
Absolutely.
Like to see the fullness of who you are and how God created you. So I love that. Thank you for speaking to that, Dr. J. All right, Jeannie, listen, girl, we wrapping it up with you. All right.
I'm going to try to wrap it in a good bow. I do want to go back to some of the things that Dr. J said, because she spoke to some psychological terms, rationalization, right? We want to make sure everybody understands what that is and what that means. So when we're talking about being in the thick of some of these issues, right, and wanting to create solutions, we have to recognize where we rationalize, right? We say, well, the chaos helps me work better under pressure, or things being, me having 8,000 things to do, it keeps me on my toes. There's a saying that they have that's, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person, right? It's a rationalization. They're going to do better if they're under this type of pressure, if they're enduring this type of an issue. So I just wanted to make sure that we get that all tied in a bow so everybody understands. And I think I can speak to solutions in the way that Dr. J did, because she focused a lot on feelings, and that's a big mental health proponent. That's a big what I do. So when we're thinking about what feeling am I trying not to experience in the context of like enduring things, like we were thinking about avoidance, right? This is the stuff I don't want to deal with. This is what isn't great for me. I don't want to experience this. And so I won't do the task, or I won't hold myself to the standards of doing what I said I was going to do because I look to avoid. So let's talk about it from the standpoint of the specific types of feelings. So let's say we have confusion. We want to have a solution to confusion, right? What gives us solutions to confusion? If we create concrete steps, if we create and elucidate the next movement, right? That's how we address that. If we have overwhelm, we need to shrink the task. The task is too big. We're trying in those moments to be more than the moments require of us. We can always shrink a task. If we're afraid of failure, which we get into that, right? Our mindsets, as Dr. J was talking about, our thoughts will tell us things that simply aren't true, but maybe we have small incidents that have happened that we now have exaggerated that create huge fears about whether we're going to fall on our face. So we want to be able in those moments to make it available to us that we can have a rough or an ugly first version. I can do a first draft. I can survive a first draft. It doesn't have to be perfect for me to be successful in what I'm doing, right? I don't have to get the big win for it to be successful. I can get the smaller win. I can shrink it down. If I'm bored or I'm not enjoying myself and I want to avoid that, using a timer. This is not going to be forever. You don't have to do this forever. You don't have to endure this thing forever. Do the hard thing for a little while, for 10 minutes, and then see how you feel. This is how we find ourselves inside a solution versus getting caught up in our emotional strife, which is a very difficult thing at times to overcome, especially, when you're a woman who've got all these things going on in your life. Does that make sense?
That. Yeah, I love that. And really the crux of it is take action.
Yes. That's solutions.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like if you're feeling that way and you're feeling this stuckness, right? Like the answer, the solution is to take action to resolve whatever it is that's coming up for you. So I love how you guys frame that. That's really awesome. So, okay. So as we wind down, right? And this is always our end of the discussion question. At some point, right? You all will know, every woman knows, right? When you recognize that this season is not ending, or I'm going to be here for a while, right? Like we all have those moments and we're like, oh shoot, this is just what it is, right? There's no holding my breath and hoping that it passes. Like this is just my new reality. And either I'm going to suffocate in it or I'm going to figure out a new way to reorient myself so that it doesn't suffocate me, right? Mm-hmm. So as we think about that, right, when we say, okay, I have to do something different, right? The structure has to change. Sometimes life forces you to do that. But what we're inviting you to do is take inventory and make that decision on your own, right? Without crisis or disruption. And so when that happens, right, like, what do you all believe every woman should understand about that moment? Like that moment when you're like, oh shoot, this ain't working. It's not gonna work. I'm not gonna make it if I keep going like this.
I can go first. I want every woman to remember, and I always reference my devotions because my devotions be bomb, y'all, in the mornings, right? And I just be wanting to share. So I'm gonna share this. It was the last sentence that I read in my devotion today, and it said, "Humility over ambition."
Okay.
Right. And I was questioning, like, humility over ambition. And of course, biblically, I understood what it meant. But then I started to analyze like what that looks like in real life, in our real world. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I started to research humility and ambition. Right. Mm-hmm. And these are some of the things it said about humility. Humility says, I do not have to prove my worth through constant performance. It says, I can acknowledge my limits. It says, I can rest without guilt. It says, I can ask for help. It says, I can say no. Ambition often asks, how much more can I accomplish? And overall, humility asks, what is this costing me?
Come on.
Right. And so I want women to walk away with those two things in mind. Ambition says, how much more can I accomplish? And humility asks you, what is this costing me? Because once you start to analyze what is costing you, you can get into full alignment with what truly matters to you. And it's not saying don't be successful. Right. It's just saying humility over ambition always.
Love that.
It's always going to lead you to the right place.
Love that. Oh, that's beautiful. Listen. And listen, counting the cost is wisdom. Right?
Counting the cost is wisdom. Yes.
That's wisdom. And we want y'all to be wise because you got to be clear, right? Like if it's going to cost no matter what, right? But we want you to be what the kids say, 10 toes down, right? Of taking the cost, right? Like, it's like, if this is actually really what I want, and I recognize and I'm clear that it's going to cost me something, bet, let's run it, right? But if you see the cost and you like, I don't really know if I want it as bad as it sounds, right? Like then you have the answer and you're able to assess and adjust, right, before moving forward. So really, right, what we're inviting you into, right, is to take that moment, like Tiana said, to pause and really ask yourself, right, like, what is this costing me?
What is it costing me?
And being honest, right? Like it doesn't even require some like outrageous answer. It just requires an honest answer. And so only you, right, can decide what to do with that information. But if you don't have the data, it's going to be really difficult for you to make the decision and to make the strategy to get you where you want to be. So love that. What y'all got? What y'all got? Jeannie, Dr. J, what y'all got?
Come on.
Yeah, I can say, especially, during the seasons where our body is changing and it's going through, certain changes, it can feel like it is a never-ending season. It could feel like, ooh, I'm never gonna get out of this, and I don't even understand how I got here, and it could also make you feel disempowered. And it can make you feel small. And I think it's important to ask yourself, where do I have autonomy here? Where is my autonomy? Because as you are navigating this season, this change in your biology, it can feel like, okay, this season is never ending. And it's important that throughout the season, you understand where your autonomy lies, so it doesn't feel like everything is on you, that the season controls you, because the season doesn't control you. You are just navigating the season. And it's important to understand how we navigate those seasons, especially as women, as our bodies change. It's important how we navigate it, because how another woman navigates it is going to be different from the way that you navigate it. So it's important to understand what our autonomy looks like in this specific season right now, and also recognize that could change also, that autonomy. Whatever we decided to be, that could change from season to season. And so it's understanding that the season does not hold you. It doesn't hold you. You are navigating it, but it does not hold you. And you have to ask yourself, where is my autonomy here?
Love that. Come on,
Dr. So beautiful. I love that so much. That was lovely. Very well said.
Right, Jay, what you got?
I'm glad she talked about the seasons, because sometimes we get stuck in seasons.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the issue and why we often get stuck as well is because we're existing in a lot of vagueness. We're existing in a lot of vagueness, and in the spirit of wanting to, in some ways, avoid that type of being. Like in some seasons, it takes us a little bit to gather ourselves, right? We need we need more data than we would hope for. Because earning and getting the data, the experiential understanding, takes some time, and that's not always easy, especially when we're scientists, right? When we're doctors like Dr. J, when we're relational experts like Tiana, when we're strategists, experts in strategy like Tiana, when we're therapists like myself, right? I'm like, wait, but I got to be able to navigate this with the science. It's there. If I'm feeling depressed, here's what I do. If I'm feeling anxious, here's what I do. If my hormones are all over the place, here's the therapy to utilize to make a change in that. If things are not feeling good in my space, here's how I rearrange that in a feng shui manner, Tiana, in that gifted way, to ensure that I can have peace and I'm not in chaos. Here's how I set the interventions, right? So that I can see change. And when we're like, none of that seems to be working, I'm afraid. This feels a bit more vague. This feels a bit more overwhelming. We don't necessarily always have the patience. So I challenge women to exist in some of that vagueness for a little while and to correct it where it is appropriate.
That
is so good.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so good, Jay. Okay.
It's a lot.
y'all was dropping the gems today.
Jeannie need to break that down at the Wealthy and Worthy Mastermind.
Right. Yeah,
well.
that vagueness. That vagueness.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Don't worry, it's gonna be there. Okay.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really beautiful. That's really gonna help so many women to move forward. So I'm super, super grateful that y'all share those perspectives. So I think what I would say that I would want you to know, if you are feeling just like the season ain't ending and it ain't working and you feel stuck again, you are never stuck. You just may feel stuck. I want you to remember to bring it to the light, because anything that you keep in the dark, you suffer. And it's always the enemy's intention to keep you feeling isolated, to keep you feeling alone. And if you don't bring it to the light and actually share it with others, again, you just suffer, right? And so we want to encourage you to talk about it, write about it, right? If you don't feel like you have trusted people in your life, like Tiana said, you may not have your healing circle established yet. Maybe you do hire a therapist, somebody who you can share, unfiltered with, that is unbiased, that you can just dump that thing on, right? But holding it in is what will destroy you. It'll destroy your spirit. It'll destroy your mind. And we don't want that. Isolation is a dream killer. And that is what we are here every Wednesday to remind you all of, right? It is a dream killer. And so it is being in community, being supported, allowing other people to see you witnessing others, right? It takes courage to be seen in the fullness of who you are. And so we want you all to start practicing that, because it is a muscle that you have to practice. You got to get the reps in where you're feeling comfortable. And so listen, you can get some major reps in at Wealthy and Worthy in August, all right? Because we're gathering our community. We are coming together. We are talking about wealth, careers, business, health, mental health, relationships. We're talking about it all, right? Nothing is off the table for this discussion. And so we want to be in community with y'all in person this August. Again, early bird tickets are still on sale, 20% off, right? And so listen, we want y'all to take away from this conversation today that you do not need more discipline. You do not need to push through this season, right? You are not stuck, but you do need a different design. Because the season that you keep waiting on to end, friend, it ain't coming. All right. So the structure has to change. As Dr. J said, you have autonomy in this, right? So next week, we are going to dig in a little bit more on this topic and talk about what this actually costs you, right? As we mentioned earlier, counting the cost is wisdom, right? And we don't want to talk about it just in theory, right? We're going to talk about it in real, tangible ways. What is this costing you? And so if today's conversation resonated with you, we want to see you back here next Wednesday, all right? And if you're already at the place where you know something needs to shift and you don't want to figure it out alone and you recognize you can't figure it out alone, please join us this August in person for Wealthy and Worthy. We would love to have you in community with us and with our other amazing sisters in community. So we will see y'all in Atlanta in August, but we will also see y'all next Wednesday, same place, same time. Bye.
Bye, y'all.